it took me a few months. We were looking for properties in Maryland, but then I found out I was moving to Pensacola about like 6 months later. So
Okay.
I had a great contractor there, had a great realtor, built a little team in Maryland. And so I was kind of disappointed to leave, but
Sure.
I couldn't really find another house that I thought would work there. So I
Mm,
started looking in Pensacola, started building a network there. I started
there you
understanding the
go.
market to figure out where I'm going to move, where we're going to live, all that stuff. So I then kind of transitioned my attention to Pensacola. And I got pretty frustrated because I was making offers sight unseen down in Pensacola. I ended up getting a rental house that I bought, which was great. It was right across the street from my other rental house that I had there that came up
Mm,
on the market. I just on market made an offer. Great house, got that rented out from a distance. I still hadn't moved there yet.
mm.
And then we found I moved there, and it took me another 3 months or so. I almost quit a couple
Mm,
times looking for my next flip project. I got frustrated. I felt like, maybe it was a fluke because it was
mm.
about, 6 to 7 months after I sold the last one before I even found another project. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's amazing, looking back on it, you now know that's just the price of admission, right? Well, you and I
yeah.
have helped people get started, and it often does take a lot of time to get the systems and process in place where it really becomes a funnel or a flow, whatever you want to call that.
And
Um,
that sounds overwhelming to people a lot of times, like a system and a process, like built, like I love systems, I love process, all that stuff. But effectively what it came down to was I wasn't making near enough offers. I just wasn't
exactly.
making enough offers. I wasn't taking enough action. I was doing things that I thought they were keeping me busy, but they weren't really moving the needle. So if I look back, I remember almost quitting. We were making like maybe an offer a week or two offers a week. It just wasn't
Mm,
enough.
not
And I
enough.
wasn't
Yeah.
sending enough mail. I wasn't driving enough leads. I wasn't doing the things. I wasn't investing enough money into finding the next opportunity. I was just thinking that, oh, if I work a little bit harder, it's going to work.
Mm,
Enough money or enough time. And so
yeah.
I just remember I was listening to a lot of like Bigger Pockets podcasts around that
Yep.
time, and I
Hmm.
was free everything. Like I was watching free stuff everywhere. I've never paid for anything. I didn't even pay for a book at that point. I had a library card that I would go to the library, and if the book wasn't available that I wanted, I would wait 2 or 3 months until it was available. It was
Mm,
ridiculous. So cheap.
yeah. Yeah.
And I heard somebody say, they bought a house at a estate sale. And
Mm,
so like I was literally about to quit. I remember I told my wife, I was like, okay, we flipped this house. Like maybe I should just fly. Well, I'll retire from the Navy. I'll keep buying a couple rentals here and there, but
yeah.
maybe this flipping thing is just a dream. Like it's just not for me. Everybody else could do it. And I
Mm,
was in my flight suit on the way home from work, and there was a sign for an estate sale. And so I just drove over there, and I got out of my car, walked in, and just started looking around. And the guy was there whose mom was selling the house. The husband, his dad had just passed away, and his
mm,
his his mom was there, and him. And I just said to him, I said, "Hey, if you ever are interested in selling this house, I'd love to make you an offer." He said, "Well, we have a realtor coming next week, but you can come make an offer if you want, for sure." And I ended up, long story short, bought the house, fixed it up, and that was my second flip. It took me another
mm.
6 months, but we made $45,000 on that house. So now I got a $43,000 house in 2013. Now I'm in 2014. I got a $45,000 profit. And now I say, okay, this
Mm,
does work. I got to figure this out. And then to what you said, Michael, building a system and a process, that was the next step of how do I build out systems so that
right.
I can do this consistently. And it's not every 6 months here and there. And then I
Mhm.
focus only on this project for 6 months. And it takes me a year to do one flip a year every single year. So how,
Yeah.
how do I do this more consistently? That was next.
Yeah. Well, let's remind people again, kind of your journey, right? You went from doing basically one a year, then you did how many, and then we'll talk about the pivots because you were doing a lot more than one a year at some point.
Yeah, so I did those 2 years. It was one a year, and then I bought like one or two rental houses each year too. I take the profits and I kind of put them into a rental house and
Smart.
burr the rental houses. I did all this buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat that. So
Hmm.
then I did then I did 67 in about 8.5 months, and then I did that. So that was the next year, 67 houses. 12 of those were flips, 55 were wholesale deals, and then
Okay.
I did 135 the next year, and then I did 187 the year after that, and then I did about 200 a year for quite some time through about COVID. And then we started looking at the business and the structure and just how much it would take to continue to do 200. So we're
Mm,
doing about 50 or 60 a year.
yeah. I like that. I like that. Because again, yeah, there was a time where you couldn't do any wrong. The market is up and to the right. Might as well keep the pedal down. The market shifts. You gotta shift with it. So I like all of that.
And
Why
honestly,
don't
my
we
200 house a year business, as it got more expensive to find deals, that business margin, the margin for me as the owner, started decreasing. And
Of
so as that
course.
started happening, like we were talking about pivoting, we just really had to look at the company, the amount of expenses that we had, the risk that was being taken by the company, and just make a change.